Come on, Soda Pop, let's go.
36.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing supplemental appropriations and clarifying the limitations on expenditure of funds and contracting authority for construction of an indoor aquatics facility and associated site improvements, the project.
Tracy?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Tracy Turbak with the Finance Office. As the title of the ordinance indicates, this relates exclusively to the Indoor Aquatic Center project. The ordinance has three sections. The first, section 1, is the supplemental appropriation portion of the ordinance that would add $3.3 million to the project budget. That amount coming $2.8 million from unobligated capital surplus dollars from 2014 and $500,000 from a restricted donation received from the Bradfeld estate. The second section of the ordinance expressly limits the expenditures on the project to the amount appropriated by the City Council, and Section 3 provides the authority to enter into contracts that provide for payments beyond the end of 2015. That particular provision necessary because a portion of the project will be funded with 2016 revenues. With that, I would request that you set the second reading and public hearing for Tuesday, February 10th. Thank you.
Tracy, thank you. Councilors, any questions, comments, motions? Councilor Urbanbach.
I just ask one very basic question, and I do know the answer, but Tracy, remind us, how much of our property tax dollars go into capital expenditures like this?
None.
Thank you.
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Urbanbach.
Councilor Rolfing's made a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, February 10th for this item, seconded by Councilor Urbanbach. Councilor Jamison. Did you have I'm so sorry, sir.
Oh, no, thank you.
You're welcome.
Tracy, you had sent out an email to us early this morning, or this after 11 o'clock this morning, answering a lot of questions that I had regarding the reserve funds that were being used from last year, and a lot of great dialogue here. The problem is that it's just not a public dialogue, and that's part of what I was asking for. And I know we got another week, and I don't know if we've got plans to have this reviewed in our informational next week. But in all of this effort of building this great indoor pool, we're giving up on the transparency of this whole process. I don't think there's enough votes here to kill anything, but we're giving up on the process and not explaining the rationale that you've outlined very well here to the public. And I don't know if we're planning to cover this, but I think we owe it to the public to do it. And if I could, just relating back to the National Citizen Survey we just finished, and when we make our plans from, some of the numbers were rate the quality of services provided by the city, and the worst one was street repair. Of all of our services, 45%. That's all they rated our street services, street repair. Rating the importance of investing money, number 1 was streets. 2 was traffic flow. 3 was parks. Parks is right there. But of all the things that we're doing the worst at, it's street repair, based on the opinions of the public. And we just had a press conference talking about how valuable this information is. Now, I think it's very valuable to fund the indoor pool, for sure. But we've got to explain to the public why it's more valuable than addressing these other issues. That's all I'm asking for, is a solid line of debate, an open forum to discuss it, show the public that we've reviewed all of these things that in great detail, like Tracy has outlined in this email, but we're just not sharing it with the public. And we've already heard discontent from some people, but I think if we go through all these pieces, we'll show the public that we've got a pretty good plan here. We just need to execute it. So,
Councilor Erickson.
Thank you. I was not here during the time that we met, so I hope you offer me a little leniency here with some time, because I don't know that I have an actual question, but I just, again, want to make sure that the public is fully aware of this. It's a project I support. I think it's great. I think that our community is asking for this facility. But when we had in September Woods Fuller in front of us, and they gave us this document that we went through, the Indoor Aquatic Center. And in that document, it outlines what we are paying them, which is great. They are providing a service. They're very reputable companies. We need to pay them. But that's not included in this $23.66 million, and my numbers are a little bit off here and there, but I just quickly I did this last time, and then I redid it with our new numbers. And so if you take that 23.660 and take the architect fee, which is at 6.75%, that's 1.597 and $50 plus reimbursable expenses. The construction manager gets $95,000 plus 3.5% cost of work. So we get that deal of, if you go over 23 and some change, too bad, they have to cover the extra, which I like that it's locked in. I think that protects us, it protects the taxpayer. But that is about $828,000 for a roughly total of $923,100, which in the end, we are paying 2.5 and some change plus reimbursable expenses. That's not included in this $23 million. I agree. Let's build it. Let's do it. That's great. But let's tell the community really what we're paying for. And on top of that, that doesn't include the park improvements, which are about $500,000 to $800,000. I know I haven't gotten all the money in that as well from the 2015 CIP. Could be off on my numbers. I apologize if I am. But I just want to drive home the point of making sure that the public is completely clear on top of that. We do need to pay for it, and they do deserve the funds to be sent. But when this money that was, the extra $4 million that was found, and I know there's other people that have wanted to do community projects and partner with the city that we're putting on the back burner as well. I know Howard Wood was a hot topic at one point. We use their parking lot, and they've asked for help, and that's not worked out. Again, I support this. I don't want my words to not be taken in the way that I do not support this. I will vote for it. Our community, I think, will benefit from it. But I just want to make sure people understand all the numbers that go into this, because I don't think it's maybe been clear all the time. But again, I support it.
Tracy, would you address that, please?
May I?
Please.
I'm not completely sure I followed all the numbers you went through. You went through them quite quickly, and I wasn't writing them down. But one thing I can assure you is that all of the costs of the aquatics facility project are included in that $23.7 million. So the architect's fees are included in that, the construction manager's fees, the cost to actually construct the facility, as well as the parking lots. What else? We've got an owner's representative, that's fees that are included in that, the legal fees that you mentioned. All of those costs are included in that $23.7 million.
Tracy, thank you.
One other point I might make, if I may, you did mention the other park amenities or park improvements. There are, essentially that park is going to be completely rebuilt when it's done. All of the tennis courts and Don might have to help me out, picnic shelter and those things are not included because that's not part of the aquatics facility project itself. Those are costs that would have been incurred, and we incur them on a regular basis. Every year a park or two will get rehabilitated. This year it just makes sense to do Swellerberg in conjunction with this facility.
Absolutely. And make the
So
whole
all of those
thing
costs are, with the exception of the rebuilding the tennis courts and those things that I mentioned, are included in that $23.7 million.
And thank you for
Hard
clarifying.
and soft costs.
Because I asked that question back then, and I'm going to go through and look at my notes, and I'm not saying, I'm not debating you on that. So thank you for clarifying. When I asked that question, it was, well, this is just for the pool, the 19,760. So I'll go back through, and if I misspoke, I apologize. But I want to make sure that those numbers are separated out to know why we're at that cost. I mean, you can't build something for free. It just doesn't happen. So it's important that the public knows that this amount is also included in there or not included in there. But I know I asked that back in September, and I wasn't given a clear answer then. So thank you for clarifying.
Councilor Karski.
First of all, to probably address Councilor Jameson's concerns, I guess I totally agree with, we do need to talk about what projects are out there, what other money is there, where do these all fall into line. And we, at our informational next week, would probably be a good time to do that, if that gives you a week, Tracy, to kind of, with that list, to talk to us about what is on that list, and we can discuss the money. And I know there's other we're not totally at, we know exactly this amount of money, and you gave us a very conservative estimate on what was left for capital surplus and what was left in the budget. And I think there's probably extra money there too from what we've heard. So, you know, this is a conversation we should have publicly so that people know, you know, are we not doing some parks projects? What are we doing? When are they going to be done? And we're just at our fiscal committee meeting an hour ago, we talked about in the last budget cycle, culture and recreation spending actually has dropped from 42% of our budget down to 27% under the capital program. And highways and streets has increased from 47 to 61%. So, you know, let's have this discussion and let's talk about this. And I think next week's informational meeting would be a good time to do that.
Counselor Staggers.
Yes, excuse me. This ordinance that we're looking at right now talks about $3.3 million. Can you explain where the other 600,000s?
I'd be happy to. The other 600,000, as I did discuss at the informational meeting last week, and then as I mentioned in the email that Councilor Jameson referred to, will come from the Parks and Rec Department Capital Improvement Plan. They will be reprioritizing projects both in 15 and in 16.
Will we be voting on that or not?
You will certainly vote on the changes to the plan for 2016. That will be programmed into the plan that you see later this summer that's presented to you for 16 through 2020. The other 300,000 is something that administratively, according to the city charter, can be dollars can be moved to the aquatic center project. And the way I would encourage you to look at this is that by ultimately, I'm hoping you will approve this supplemental appropriation ordinance for the project, and by doing that, you are endorsing the overall plan, which would include the $300,000 in this year's parks budget that would get redirected to the aquatics facility project.
Okay, I'm just a little confused. We've got in this proposed ordinance, we have 3.3 million. Okay, then you mentioned this other 300, you mentioned 600,000, which is going to be coming out of the
Approximately
CIP.
half of that would come from this year's existing parks capital improvement plan,
Okay.
and approximately half of it from the 2016 projects.
And the administrative thing that you mentioned, the 300,000.
That budget has already been approved by the city council. According to city charter, the administration has the ability within a department to redirect funds. So that 300,000 for the projects that have already been put into the budget can be redirected by the administration.
Okay, thank you.
Council, has been some very good discussion. There has been a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading, which will allow you to have much more conversation as well as public input as well as the opportunity to have more discussion at the informational next week. Has been suggested by Councilor Jameson and Councilor Karski. A roll call vote, please.
Come on, Soda Pop, let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on.